We're here with Jesse McLean, who is the founder at Scratch Golf Labs. How are you?
Good. How are you? It's good to see you, Garrett.
Good to see you. We get to talk about something awesome, which is golf.
Yes, always a plus.
And you're going to apply business to golf.
Yes, that's the goal.
You can do it reverse, but that means you have to be on when you're doing business to golf. Golf to business. For you got to be on, but everybody else just gets to have fun.
Yeah.
Quick background that led you to founding and building Scratch Golf.
Yeah. Prior to taking on this venture with Scratch, I was working for a real estate development and construction company that was the exclusive developer for a Quick Quack car wash, a company called Lone Star Builders based out of Springville. And working for Lone Star, I kind of saw things through the lens of once you figure out a model that works, then you do high scale. And so when we first got the Quick Quack contract, we did a couple here in Utah, and Quick Quack was initially just wanting to do a few because we thought that the market was saturated. And everyone has since seen that that saturation level continues to rise and rise and rise. And so that quickly morphed into building out Utah, and then we morphed into Colorado and Texas. And so I started to really gain this knack for once you figure out how something works, then you just go and you blow the doors off the hinges and you scale like crazy. And so when I wanted to start my own venture, that's kind of the lens that I saw things through. And so I've always loved golf, and I've loved expansion and business development and operations. And so this was my first venture out into doing something of my own. And it just happened to be Scratch Golf Lab.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And growing up, did you play golf? How would you rate your game currently?
Everything's relative. So growing up, I'm 6'6", so I've always been a team sport guy, baseball, basketball. Golf was always kind of the in-between season sports. And so I've always loved golf, but I was always a team sport guy. Obviously, when you get older, you don't have as much time and flexibility with team sports. And so you just naturally gravitate into personal sports. And so golf was that. And then, it's also just been, I have 6 kids. And so that's one of the things that I've been wanting to spend some time with my kids and what's a hobby that I can do with them. And so I've naturally gravitated towards golf more and more over the last 10 years. And so Scratch kind of came about because I wanted something, for myself to practice at more convenient times, and then also have an outlet for my kids to practice and accelerate their rate of improvement.
Very cool. Yeah. I love it. 12, 13, 14 years ago, somewhere in there, I had this idea to create like a private club downtown that would have a putting green and at the time, like golf simulators, so it's like a country club just downtown, like the Alta Club.
You would have been a pioneer.
Yeah. And I remember I played a simulator, and this one, a long time ago. Yeah. And it sucked. Yeah. I'm like, never mind. No good. Yeah. But just recently I was at your location in South Jordan, and day and night, it works really, really well, and it's a ton of fun. Yeah. I've only scratched the surface, but you can play all sorts of courses, and then there's like fun games, target practice, and things like that. But it works, right? Yeah. You're not hitting the same ball 19 times to get it to register once.
Yeah. Yeah. At its core, I mean, Scratch is fundamentally intended for golfers who are serious about wanting to kind of break through these thresholds. I think that oftentimes golfers get stuck in these, I call them in, these ceilings of, I'm trying to break 100, I'm trying to break 90, I'm trying to break 80. And so the premise behind Scratch is to provide an environment that's convenient for them where they can come and accelerate the rate of improvement by leveraging technology. And like you said, the technology over the last 5, 6, 7 years has gotten really good. And so you're starting to see a lot of these simulators and launch monitors that are really advanced and accurate. And so what we do is we take that technology and we just, what you see on the PGA Tour, and we bring that down to a consumer level so that they can have access to that without having to go spend 20, 30, 50 grand on their own unit. So, but yeah, it's surprisingly accurate.
Yeah. And, for most people, they probably don't need and or shouldn't worry about some of those stats. But as you do break 80, some of those start to factor in, right?
Yeah.
Like a good golfer on a normal course with no data or anything will know, healed it. Oh, that's going to be short 5 yards. Most people don't. But with y'all's facility, you can see oh, your club was angled at the wrong way, and all of that.
Yeah, we really like to tailor the approach depending on the proficiency of the golfer. And so when we get somebody who is just trying to get into the sport, we will water down and say, you don't even need to look at 90% of these data points because based on your skill level, these are irrelevant. Obviously, if somebody has a little bit more familiarity with it, then we'll start to introduce more of those. But there's a wide gamut of metrics that you can start to focus on, really just depending on what your skill level is. Yeah. So when we get somebody who first comes in, we'll just say, hey, we just want you to look at, your face angle, your club path, maybe your spin rate, and let's just focus on those three for the next, 4 to 6 weeks. And let's get really, really comfortable with those. And then we'll start to introduce some additional metrics.
Yeah. And it's really cool because when you watch a PGA Tour event, and you're wondering where all those stats come from, you've got the same stuff there.
Yeah.
And how many courses do you guys have in the software?
They add about 6 or 7 every month. So we use TrackMan technology. So that's in the industry, that's a really well-known entity, but we use TrackMan, and I want to say they're up to 250 plus. So really, really fun courses for the guys who are just wanting to kind of take an entertainment aspect for a night and just go play fun courses. There's a wide variety of options to choose from.
Yeah. And if you wanted to play all of those courses, it'd be millions of dollars. And some you can't play.
Yeah. I actually just played Marcella on the simulator, and it was really cool because obviously Marcella is not built, but they take the CAD file and how they're building it in real life, and then they're just using that in a simulator form. And so it was really fun to kind of get a little sneak preview of what Marcella is going to be like. Black Desert's on there. The thing that I loved about Black Desert is when I finally went and played it in person, it was familiar to me because I understand, okay, hole number 1 is this, dog leg right, dog leg left, uphill, downhill, blind shot.
Yeah.
And so that was really fun to kind of have this level of familiarity despite the fact that you've never physically been there before.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Because if you're going to dole out big bucks to go play in North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's a big advantage to have fun while you're there.
Yeah, you want to get your money's worth.
Yeah.
We get a lot of guys who they're planning a trip to Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach is obviously a bucket list course, and they don't want to squander the opportunity. They want to go into that experience well prepared. And so they'll come and do, a month of playing Pebble Beach and understanding the nuances of it. And so we're glad that we can facilitate that for them.
Yeah, big advantage. And then the stories are, I kicked it around for 18, but I got some good pictures, or I actually played well.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that for serious to really serious golfers. But when we were there, we had a group, and the gambit was really good to awful.
Yeah.
And there was a group playing a little target practice, where you hit it and it's 13 feet. And if somebody wants to steal that flag,
you capture the flag.
Yeah, capture the flag. It was hard to get them to do what we were there for because they were having so much fun playing golf. And then there's a long drive closest to the pin. Again, there's all sorts of amazing fun things. But going back to kind of the clubhouse feel, we're going to talk about how easy it is to use and how automated it is. But they all have doors. Mm-hmm. You can close the door and have a private, fun business meeting and or just be there with your friends. And so the central place has drinks and like a common area, but then you can go do your own golf game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fundamental to when I was building it out. I wanted to have an environment that people felt comfortable, that they could go and they feel like they had the place to themselves. And so having a secluded area where you can bring your party with you and not be overhearing the conversations of the group next to you or hitting somebody else smash a driver.
Yep.
That was really important, and that's a tenet that we continue to hold on to with every subsequent location that we've built out.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that didn't fall short on you.
No, it's a big differentiator.
Good.
For 2 walls and a door, it makes a big difference.
And 2 layers of 5/8 drywall and acoustic insulation, and there was a lot that went into it, but I'm glad that it's paid off and people notice it.
Yeah, I didn't have to write the check for all the nice stuff. I just noticed it.
Well, good.
Yeah. And really easy to use. Let's talk a little bit about the various options you all have, all the way from individual to groups to corporations, all that, right?
Yeah. So we really want to be an option depending on what skill level you have. And so the individual who, a lot of those are dads or moms who they just want to go practice at convenient times. And then we're coming out with household plans. And so a lot of times the mom or the dad plays and they want to get their kid into it. And so being able to add children under the same account. And then obviously corporate plans. Our corporate plans have really started to pick up where people want to have a unique offering or a perk to their team. And they also want to have something a little bit different in order to go take clients or hold informal meetings or offsites. And so our membership plans hopefully cater to a wide variety of people so that somebody can find a pick that works best for them.
Yeah. And you have an app that you just book the tea time, right? You don't have to call Jesse.
Yeah. Yes, I could not keep up. So we have an app so that you can toggle back and forth. We have a roaming membership. So if you're a member of one, you're a member of all. And so you can go to any of the locations and book a tea time in real time, and then also unlock the facility and get yourself in, check out on the pro shop and buy snacks, things like that. And so, yeah, the app has definitely taken a heavy load off my shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. The locations are?
So starting from the south, Payson, Salem, Mapleton, South Jordan, and West Jordan right now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we were there pretty darn late. And somebody said, who would, because it's 24/7.
24/7.
Who would use this? And a few people already had good ideas, but you mentioned like ER doctors.
Yeah.
Insomniacs.
Yeah. Those, we've seen those. We've also seen like, there's some funny stories of parents who just like in the middle of the night, they wake up, take care of a kid, put the kid back to bed, and then they can't fall asleep. And so they're like, I'm just going to go hit some balls.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's people who have swing shifts or graveyard shifts and or ER doctors, things like that. Yeah. And then obviously some of the insomniacs.
Yeah. I mean, what a world we live in. You can lay in your bed, like if this was 1986, but in 2024, you can go play Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
What a world.
What a world.
And you're by yourself and nobody's bothering you.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Do people use it for parties, reunions, get-togethers?
Yeah. So Silicon Slopes came and we had a poker night. We had a couple of events there. And then we've had some birthday parties, and then some corporate gatherings as well. And so the basis of why people come varies, but the underlying premise behind why they're all there is they just want to enjoy golf in kind of a community environment.
Yeah.
And so, we hold events and we market that, and we want to encourage people because golf's always funner when you're with people.
Yeah. And
so that's why we make the bays a little bit more spacious, because we want you to be there with people because we feel like it's more enjoyable that way.
Yeah. Yeah. They are spacious, lots of soft chairs. So you can BS and jump in and play. You can just BS the entire time and watch people play. It's a clubhouse with a simulator.
Yeah.
It's very nice. We'll talk about golf and the relationships that you have and others have developed. But you're an army of one as an entrepreneur, right? Like you cut your teeth learning how to develop and get something good and scale it, as you mentioned. What's it been like? Because you're going to have to figure out, like, what will people pay? What are the margins?
Yeah.
Should I put in more drywall?
Yeah.
Highs and lows of being a solo entrepreneur.
I think highs and lows are obviously you make all the decisions. That's the high because you don't have to go get buy-in or you have to lobby for decision making, but then it's also on your shoulders in order to pull it off. You also quickly realize where your proficiencies are and where your deficiencies are. Obviously, Silicon Slopes has a vast network of entrepreneurs who have been in various stages, but you have to wear many hats when you go take that leap of faith and start an entrepreneurial journey. And so sometimes I'm wearing that hat I'm the janitor. Other times I'm doing all the accounting and the bookkeeping and the P&L. Other times I'm meeting customers and onboarding people. And so I've actually enjoyed that component of understanding all the nuances of the business. I've started to also recognize what am I good at, what am I not good at, and trying to be self-aware enough to say what I'm not good at, I need to start outsourcing or bringing on, hire out for some of these things. And so a lot of that is just pivot. Trial and error. You make a decision, you see how it goes, and then you just kind of you make some adjustments and some course corrections as you go.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed it. It's been challenging, but it's also been extremely fulfilling.
Yeah. A big part of it is like the real estate component.
Yeah.
Which may be intimidating to somebody that just loves golf and wants to have a golf simulator company. But as you think through expansion, what are you factoring in?
Yeah, I think that in large measure, the barrier to entry within our industry is fairly low. I mean, it doesn't take a ton in order to set up a simulator. And so in large measure, it's kind of a race to the market. And so there's two ways to do that. You can either do that through self-funding, which I've pretty much done to this point, or you can start to take on some outside money. I think the stage that I'm at right now is I'm using these first 5 locations almost as my guinea pigs in my trials to better understand the nuances of the business, to say what works, what doesn't, what's the price point, what's the marketing strategy, with the anticipation of once we start to feel really comfortable about where we're at, then where do we go from there?
Yeah.
And we're starting to get to that point right now. It's been about 18 months since I opened that first one. And those lessons are starting to come to light, and I'm starting to get a more clear picture of what the industry looks like and what the consumer behavior looks like, and discretionary spending in an economy like this. And so now that we're at that stage, I'm starting to look at what does Act 2 look like for Scratch Golf Lab.
Yeah. And people might think that your busy season is in winter.
Yeah.
You're in Utah. Or if you're in like Kalamazoo, Michigan, same thing. But if you're in El Paso, Texas, the summer might be the busiest time of the year, right? When you don't actually want to be out playing golf.
Yeah, this is a common, I think, misperception, and it depends on what the basis of your business model is. If your business model is, I'm just going to provide a space where people can come and play courses on a simulator, then yeah, you're going to be really busy during the winter months. But if you are really focused on the development of golfers and training and camps and clinics and club fittings and things like that, actually summer is where we start to reach a fever pitch. Winter, people are just coming to play courses. Summer is, I want to take a lesson. I want to come get a club fitting. I want to enroll my child in a summer camp. And so as courses open up in the spring and summer, then we also we rise with that tide as well, because people are they're out playing more. And so it's more on the top of their mind.
Yeah. Well, I can see the entrepreneurial wheel spinning because you mentioned lessons, junior clinics, and club fitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who does the lessons?
So we got a good network of, we have a really good resource. I live down in Mapleton, and the UVU women's golf coach, Julie Erickson, lives down there. And so oftentimes we'll get her or some of her athletes to coach. And then we've got some instructors up in Salt Lake who are PGA certified, who they'll just come on a contract basis and teach a lesson for us. And so they've been great to work with.
Very cool. So you kind of have them on retainer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And a good teacher with all of that data is a lot different than just being at the range.
Than grandpa perpetuating his bad habits on the range. Well, and I think that's how most of us grew up, is we just went out and we started hacking at balls, and we never really had that feedback loop or those mechanisms in order to kind of shed a light on some of these bad habits. And now that we have this technology, we can really accelerate the rate of improvement to where people are becoming much more proficient and much more confident in their game in a much shorter time period.
Yeah. And you can do it whenever you want, as I've already said. The 24/7 thing is a big differentiator.
Yeah.
Because you drive by golf courses at night and you're like, dang, I wish they had lights out there. Yeah.
And shout out to Timpanogos. I mean, they put lights up, but that's part of the challenge. Was prior to this, I'm a dad, and I had a day job, and I wanted to get better at golf, but you work till 5 o'clock, and then you have a very small window of time in order to go practice outside on the range. And then when you're on the range, you don't have these feedback loops. And so being able to provide people an option of when they want to come practice, and then when they're practicing, they have this feedback loop, it just really, like I said, accelerates that rate of improvement. And people, it's hard to go back on the range, because then you don't know, how far did I carry that? What was my rollout? What was my spin rate? What was my attack angle?
Yeah.
Now that you've experienced that, it's hard to go back.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are going to make it harder after going to Scratch Golf. Just the camaraderie and the ease of getting a drink and just all teed up there for you.
Good.
It really is. Relationships and golf. It's very unique, right? Because you show up at a course, maybe you're an out-of-towner. I've done this a lot. You just get put with 3 folks or 2 or whatever, but you're going to be with them 4 hours.
Yeah.
You're going to hear them at their best and worst and see them at their best and worst. But so many memorable stories. You can replicate that with scratch.
Yeah. Well, and the nice part, golf is obviously the sport of business because you learn a lot about a person when you play golf with them. And you have a captive audience, like you said, for 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours. And so you cut beyond the superficial chit chat, small talk, and you start to really understand who that person is and what makes them tick and what their philosophies are. And in the process of doing that, you really start to forge relationships with them and you get to know them on a personal basis. And so that's part of the reason why we are, we're so gung ho about developing relationships, because we want you to have a good time. And we want you to forge those relationships, bring people that you love and that you trust and that you want to, garner a stronger relationship with, because life in general and business in particular are better when you do that.
Oh, for sure. Do you guys have Augusta on?
No, Augusta has very strict licensing rules. I mean, they won't even let you take a picture on property. They're not going to license out for TrackMan, but they got other really good courses. And so, I wouldn't be mad if they came out with Augusta.
No, not at all. But there's a lot of courses that you'll never play. Oh, that you can play at scratch.
Yeah. There's one in particular called Lofoten Links. That's up in the Northern Lights of, I think it's in like Denmark. And it's so cool because you can play under the Northern Lights because it's bright enough. Just again, all these courses in far-flung areas of the world that you would never play in person, but it's fun to kind of get a little feel for it. Yeah.
And a lot of them you can't play unless you get invited and you're with the member.
That's true.
And that doesn't happen too often.
Unless you have relationships.
Yeah. You got to develop those relationships. Yeah. If you're ever on a plane with somebody and they have a certain type of shirt on with a certain logo on it, you want to play that course, that's your only chance.
Yeah, you got to strike up that conversation.
Big fan. Really enjoyed my time there. It's going to be a lot of fun to play all of these courses. Really grateful for our partnership here. Corporations, you mentioned this briefly, but like our demographics might be interested in this. So if an HR person wants to buy this as a nice little additive service to their employees, how does that work with like the login, the app, and everything that everyone can use it?
Yeah, it's really convenient. So you would just have a team account where you would have multiple people on a team, and then just one of those people is just the admin that handles the billing. But billing, all you have to do is put a card on file, and then it just runs. And so it's a really nice perk, especially for some of the smaller businesses where they don't have the resources in order to go out and do really big perks for their employees. And so it's a nice token of appreciation to say like, hey, I know we're small, or we want to give you something that we really feel like you would use. Yeah. And so it's really, really convenient. And then all those people, they have their own account. They all can log in themselves, book tee times, access the facility.
Perfect.
I remember when I worked at Vivint, we had a corporate ski pass, and there was a Google Doc that everyone had to go sign up, and then you had to go show your ID. Yeah. Yeah. None of that.
Thinking through it. Thank you so much, Jesse. Congrats on your success with these 5 locations. I get the impression that there's going to be a lot more in your future. Wonderful idea, wonderful atmosphere. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.